Chair Cathaoirleach, and first of all, I very much welcome this debate. It's very important, and it's right that we acknowledge and go through this very important report, which has shone a light on such a dark time in our history and in our society in a way that we all have to be honest and perfectly frank, we have to be ashamed of. The awful and inhuman way that young girls and boys and children were treated by the institutions of the state who were aiding and abetting each other at the time, it is beyond belief. The one thing that often comes up in conversation is that was then and now is now. And we have to be so careful that in the society that we have at present, that we're not allowing wrongs to continue. Whether those wrongs are, for example, children being homeless, people being homeless and not being taken care of properly by the state, we have to be so mindful. I heard, and I was listening very carefully to my good friend and colleague, Deputy Moynihan, earlier on talking about social media. We have to be careful about what is going on in that regard, and that in a number of years' time, that we won't be looking back and saying, well, there was young people whose formative years were scarred, or they were upset or treated badly because of social media, because that could be the new form of bullying, because what went on in the past in those institutions and where people were inhumanely treated, it was a horrible type of degrading behaviour, and of course it was also bullying, because these people saw themselves as being so awfully powerful and God Almightiness in them that they could do whatever they wanted to other human beings. And remember, there is nothing in this whole world that's as nice as a young small child, be it a little boy or a little girl, and to see them coming into the world, and wherever or however they come into this world is totally immaterial. The fact is that that person is a human being, and they're so welcome into the world, and we should all be willing to do everything we can to mind them, nurture them, protect them, educate them, and get them ready for life. And unfortunately, there was people, and whether it was in the education sphere or whether it was in those awful institutions that were called homes, and the way they treated people, it was so wrong. And we've all heard on local radios over the recent past and all, in the last number of years, we've heard survivors, as we'll call them, coming out and telling their stories. And it's so important that we get educated and that we know their stories, because in many instances we wouldn't have known the truth of the enormity of the wrongs that were done to them. And of course they should be compensated, and I'm not saying that they're looking for compensation, but the more that some people aren't looking for it, the more they actually should get it, because they are entitled to it. And the institutions that hurt them or harm them should be made recompense them. Not that all the money in the world can buy back your youth. Not that all the money in the world can buy back the years that you might have gone to bed upset or hungry or tired or cold or weary, and nobody to give you a squeeze and to say, well, you're a great little boy or a great young girl, and to mind them and be kind to them. And it's an awful thing to think that they were robbed of that. But I would have a very strong message, and that is to the people that did survive. I thank them for telling their stories and let us all see that shameful time. And I have a strong message to the bullies of today. And for instance, I'll give you an example. When I'll sit down here tonight, more than likely I will get a message from a person who's very fond of messaging me continuously when I stand up here inside in the Dáil, berating me personally and my family and telling me what a horrible person I am. Well, I would say to that dirty, rotten coward, come out into the open and face me like any normal person would face me and have a debate. But this type of horribleness that goes on, and it's fine for it to happen to me, Cathaoirleach, that's no problem, because I'm able for it. But what about young people, Cathaoirleach, who aren't able to take that type of nastiness? But I would say to those cowards, Do you know, go away and do a bit of work and do something normal in life rather than looking into a computer and trying to figure out how you can say horrible words to somebody. But this is just important to finish. So to those cowards, those are the horrible people of now, who are equally as horrible of the people that were there long ago that we're talking about. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Deputy.